by experience.
Good afternoon, honorable members, and welcome to our COGTA Portfolio Committee meeting. I'm just going to ask Honorable Madlopa if you could just open for us in prayer. Thank you, Honorable Madlopa, and welcome once again to all honorable members, our department officials, and our support staff. I'm just going to hand over to our coordinator, Ms. Nondomiso, to take us through the apologies and the constitution of the meeting.
Accept apologies for Honorable Tennis and accident. Honorable Basigela is running she's coming. I received another apology from IYMC and HOD. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nondumiso. Honorable members, please do keep Honorable Buthelezi in your prayers. It is unfortunate that she met with an accident yesterday. Now that our meeting is correct.
Chair. No, thanks, Chair. Greetings to you. Yeah, with the apologies, Honorable Chair. I think we must get the reason for the department because the MEC plus the HOD is not here. We are told that there are apologies, but we don't know what apologies because it must be on record.
Thank you for that question, Honorable Madlopa. I think the reason that we did receive is that there is an engagement. It is the graduation of the Amakosi that's taking place today, which required the HOD and the MEC to be present. Members, can I have a mover for the adoption of the agenda? Thank you, Honorable Bratasit. Can we have a seconder? Honorable Kunene, thank you. Members, we have circulated the minutes of the 10th of October 2025 and the minutes of the 12th of November 2025. You've had opportunity to read through those minutes. Just want to see if there's any issues, any corrections that you'd like to raise in terms of these minutes that we've circulated. Please, can I see a show of hands if there are any issues with regards to the minutes? So we have two sets, the 10th of October and the 12th of November. Honorable Madlopa.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Just blouse on the when I was outside with my daughter. Yeah, I can see, and also there are resolutions, they are clear that what resolution to. But I want just to check whether on those resolutions, have we received what we requested? Yeah, as a committee, and then suggest that if we receive it, maybe as a committee, we must look at those resolutions. Just come and look at the resolutions that we've taken and see whether there is implementation of those resolutions. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Madlopa. Indeed, we have received some of the information, I think a day or two ago. We received some of the requests, information that was requested in terms of the Amakosi and so on. However, we will not be tabling those today. We will circulate those documents, and then on the 17th of March, we will have our next meeting at which we will table those reports and open them for discussion. All right. Members, can we move for the adoption of these minutes? Can I have a mover? Thank you, Honorable Kunene. Can I have a seconder for the adoption of the minutes? Honorable Madlopa. Now that's fine. If you are virtual, you're still present. So thank you. These minutes have been adopted. Without further ado, honorable members, we are going to hand over to the department. Oh, my apologies. That's the minutes of the 12th. Would you like me to have them adopted separately? All right. So we've done the first one. Can we have a mover for the adoption of the minutes on the 12th? 12th of November. I think that was an error. It's actually the 12th. Yeah. So we'll correct that. All right. Thank you, Honorable Bratuset. Let's have a seconder.
Chair, can I say something before I support? No, Chair, one request that when we write the minutes, it must really reflect, like to say, maybe we took a decision of something, and do not articulate those specific things to a person that was not in the meeting, it becomes a problem, because after approving the minutes, it becomes a public consumption. But we write as if everybody was in the meeting. So I think we have to be specific on the decisions that we are taking, not to say that it was presented and we accepted, but it's not what we really accepted as a committee. So we really request that in the future, from today onwards, so it is reflected, because after a year, when you read the minutes, it must make sense to you what was transpired, because the presentation will not be part of the minutes at that time when you read it, because the minutes lead to the decisions that we have taken as a committee. So I support it, because we have never raised it, but when I was reading it, I could see that it's just general. It doesn't specify some of the exact things that we really discuss and agree upon.
No, thank you for that, Honorable Madlopa. You raise a very valid point. And I think our staff will take note of that. We need more detailed minutes so that whoever is reading it and who's been absent is fully aware of what transpired at the meeting. Thank you so much, honorable members. We're going to move on to the presentations by the department. So we're going to take the third quarter financial and non-financial presentations. And then thereafter, we'll take questions for the department on these presentations. Over to Ms. Mpushini. I'm not sure if you are leading the delegation today.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Chair. Good morning to all the members of the Portfolio Committee. My name is Barbara Mkuchini. I'm sure you've seen me previously as the acting HOD for COGTA. I am glad to announce that COGTA has finally appointed a head of department. His name is Belo Duma. Mr. Duma was in COGTA before in Program 2. I then moved to National COGTA as a DDG and is now back in the province as our HOD. And we are excited to now have a permanent HOD. So you now start seeing the continuity that the Portfolio Committee may want to see moving forward. I am the DDG responsible for Program 3, and I've been requested to lead the delegation today in the absence of the HOD, who is at the graduation, and after the graduation, he will be proceeding to Udoni. I'm sure you've also been hearing about the labor unrest in Udoni municipality. So he will be going there to address the municipality. Today, I've got a team, the acting CFO, Ms. Tula Shongwe, the Director for Budget, Ms. Sanele Kumalo, the Chief Director responsible for M&E and Policy, Mrs. Mshengu, and we also have Pumla Sabala Sakuba, who is in the office of the HOD. To the extreme end, we've got DDG responsible for Program 2, Mr. Dr. Madoda Katide. That is the team that we will be assisting in terms of the 2 items that are on the agenda. May I then hand over to the acting CFO, Ms. Noptula Shongwe, to take us through the financial report. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, DDG, and greetings to the honorable members and the chairperson and the colleagues. I am going to be presenting on the third quarter financial report, which I believe was sent to the members. The introduction to our presentation, in terms of the summary, the main appropriation or the budget for the department that we received was 1.9 billion for the 25-26 financial year. There were some adjustments which were done during the financial year, which led to an increase of 1.1 million, and thus resulting in our adjusted appropriation of 1.932 billion. There were specific allocations that the department received. The 3.4 million was specifically for the EPWP integrated grants for provinces, and also we received 2 million allocated for the OSS DDM responsibilities. The reallocation of the revenue which was collected, we got reimbursed by provincial treasury after we've collected from municipalities that were owing the department. We've got a grants recovery. We recovered some funds from the municipalities, and those funds have been reimbursed back to the department. We got our reimbursement of 4.1 million, which was recovered from Umsunduzi, and we were also reimbursed the 3.3 million, which we requested back from Treasury after we had collected all those the revenue from municipalities. During the third quarter, the department received an allocation of 6.3 million for the repairs of the traditional authority centers. That is like in a conditional grant, because those funds can only be used for the repair of the traditional authority councils. We received it in the third quarter, and we are in the process of repairing those TACs so that we can spend the funds according to the conditions of the grant that we received from Treasury. The department during the financial year, we suspended 3.4 million to Department of Health for their budget pressures. It's not only the COGTA that suspended the funds, but it was a provincial request to support the Department of Health. So as COGTA, we could only suspend the 3.4 million because we also have our own spending pressures. We've also suspended 20 million to the Department of Public Works for the refurbishment and rehabilitation of the Ulundi Administrative Building, which was hit by disasters in February. So Public Works requested departments to assist. We then suspended the 20 million to assist the Public Works in terms of that admin building. The next few slides, it's just the graphs of the actual, showing the actual in the projected expenditures. I'm moving on to slide 7, where we are detailing the revenue analysis for the quarter. Table 1 indicates the projected and the actual revenue that was collected in the third quarter. When we look at the actual revenue collected is at December, that is the second column there, under the sale of goods and services other than the capital assets, the revenue that was collected was 1.1 million. As at December again, the department recorded then a remarkable revenue outturn, achieving 387% in the third quarter. This was largely due to the revenue from the sale of capital assets. There was an auction which was planned for the previous financial year, and it didn't take place in the previous financial year. It only took place this current financial year. Therefore, we received revenue from the auction of those vehicles, which is done by DOT, but they are auctioning our vehicles. So the auction was done in the 25-26 financial year, hence the increase in the revenue. I'm on slide 8. I'm on slide 8. We are reporting on the transactions in the financial assets and liabilities. Chair, can I check do the members have their presentation? Okay. Thank you, Chair. Can I proceed? Thank you. I'm on slide 7, members. Transactions in the financial assets and liabilities. We show a revenue collection of 440% against the projection of 266% against the budgeted revenue. Revenue collection from these transactions was significantly higher due to the following reasons. As I indicated, we are recalling grants that are unused by municipalities. So in the third quarter, the 7 municipalities that are listed on the presentation, we've recovered from them. Herigwala, we've recovered 465, 903, and 451 for the accelerated water intervention program covering boreholes and spring water projections, and the Franklin water abstraction works. The funds that were not used by municipalities, so we recalled and we recovered those, and they increased our revenue. Also for Umtonjaneni municipality as well, we recovered 20 million. That was the grant which was given to the municipality in the 2014-2015 financial year that they have not used. So we had to recover that so that we can use it in our other spending pressures. Also from Umgeni, Utsukela Water, we recovered 3.8 million for the grant which was given to them in 2019 and 2020 for the Shemula bulk water supply phase 3. Also, we recovered from Umhlatsuze municipality 243,000 for the grant also which was given to them in 2014 and 15 for the upgrade and the expansion of the Alkranstadt Beach precinct. We recovered again from Inkosilangal Balele municipality 130,000 for the grant which was given to the municipality in 2018 for the development of a single land use scheme. We also recovered from UPIC 5 Shabisa 400,000 for the grant which was given to the municipality in 2018-19 for the preparation of the single use scheme. And also we recovered 1 million from Ubu district. Also the grant that were given to the municipality in the 2018-19 for the feasibility study. Those funds were not used by the municipality, so we had to recall them back. We do have engagements with municipalities and agree with them, and then we recall those funds. The revenue from the sale of goods and services other than the capital assets is at December, the department collected 90.9% against the third quarter projection, and also 72% against the our annual budget. The under collection in that category is primarily due to a decline in the revenue from the sale of tender documents and also the sale of the scrap papers. On the category of the interest, dividends, and rent on land, as at December 2025, the department collected 95.8% against the third quarter projection and 63% against the budget allocation. The variance there is largely attributed to the lower than anticipated payment from debtors, which impacted this collection category. In our next slide, we are then presenting the expenditure analyzed per program, per economic classification. So the tables that follow in the next slides are related to the expenditure analysis. I'm on slide 10. As at December, the department recorded expenditure amounting to 87.14 of the third quarter projection and 68.7 of the total budget allocation, which was then below the 75% benchmark for the quarter. The under expenditure is largely attributed to the reduced spending on the S&T as a result of our cost cutting, our cost containment measures, as well as the delay in the procurement of the security services, also the consumables and the stationery. In addition to this, the under expenditure materialized in December for several items like catering, the delay in the building leases, contractors, and other agencies. We also reduced the department. We also stopped the renewal of our cell phone contracts, and there were delays a bit in the electrification invoices. However, at year end, the department is projecting to spend 100%. In terms of the current payments, looking at our compensation of employees, moving over to slide 11, looking at our compensation of employees, as at December 2025, the department recorded an under expenditure on the compensation of employees category is at 97%. This is due to the delays in the filling of funded posts due to the recruitment processes and the DPSA evaluation process, which took longer, and then the posts were delayed in the filling. So that's why we had an under expenditure on the compensation of employees. Moving along to slide 12. For goods and services, again in this December, we had an under expenditure of 85.16 for the third quarter, largely attributed to also to the S&T, as I indicated earlier, which the department is implementing the cost containment measures, and also we had a challenge of the interface of the toll vest, which is our travel agent invoices, also contributed to this, but we are then in engagement with them so that we can correct our books for this quarter, which is quarter 4. On transfers and subsidies, slide 13. Again, we are reporting as at December 31, 2025, is spending under provinces and municipalities category reached 359 of the third quarter projection, and 78% was spent for the total budget allocation. The over expenditure there is due to the transfer payment of the small town rehabilitation program transferred amount to Nongoma for the Umona market. The department then anticipates 100% expenditure in the category at year end. On the category of universities and technicons, no projections were made for the third quarter for this category. However, the year to date, we successfully transferred 100% of the allocated budget to the KZN for the programs that are run by KZN. For the department, we also anticipate achieving 100% expenditure of that at year end. In terms of the households, the quarter 3, the department spends 170% of the projected amount and 89.2% of the total budget allocation. The over expenditure relates to the anticipated staff exits and resignations. we are projecting order 100% at year end as well. Payments for capital assets. Moving along to slide 14. Buildings and other fixed structures. Also, in quarter three, spending under this category of buildings and other fixed structures, the department was sitting at 27% of the third quarter projection and 20% of the total budget, reflecting a significant under expenditure of 72% against the quarterly projection. The under expenditure was due to the slow SCM processes for the capital projects such as electrification, the CSCs, and the disaster management center, which has been corrected in the fourth quarter because those projects have started. Under the machinery and equipment, the department spent 61% against the third quarter projection and 30% against the budget allocation due to the delays we had issues with Vodacom payments, which were linked to incorrect finance lease allocations and the non-renewal of the cell phone handsets for CDWs and some officials. The under expenditure also resulted in the slow recruitment processes, as I've indicated, with the delays in the DPSA evaluation process. Software and other intangibles. The department then in the third quarter, we spent those 20 million due to Microsoft licenses being erroneously projected under this category. Therefore, we have since corrected that. We have to do a journal to correct that. The next few slides then, it's the expenditure per program. Program 1, slide 15. Program 1. Under Program 1, we have spent 85.9 of the third quarter projections and 71.07 of the total budget allocation, which is slightly below the third quarter benchmark of 75%. This then also was primarily due to under expenditure on the interface of Utovest, which I indicated that we are now working on correcting that because there was a huge amount, and also this was compounded by SNT, which we had to cut as the departmental's cost cutting measures. Program 2 recorded 92.5% expenditure against the third quarter projection and 71.2 against a budget allocation. Even there, it's below the 75 benchmark of the quarter. The lower expenditure reflects it's due to the cost containment measures that the department is implementing, and also to eliminate any excess spending, which resulted to then the lower expenditure of 71%. Program 3, we reported a expenditure of 65% spending against the projections, and a low percentage of 53% against the budget allocation. The reasons for the under expenditure under Program 3, which is a development and planning unit, it was the revision and the reduction of the funded critical post, also linked to the issues of DPSA not providing the evaluations in time, as well as the resignations of officials within the program. Other areas that caused the under expenditure for Program 3, it was the delay in the electrification invoices that we received in this financial year. And also there was a lower expenditure in terms of EPWP flagship program, which also caused a under expenditure. However, in program 4, we have then picked up on the expenditure. Hence, we are then projecting to spend 100% as a department. Traditional institution, which is program 4, also spent 97% of the third quarter projection and 73% of the budget allocation. Then they had just a minor under expenditure of about 0.28. That under expenditure also relates to the non-interface of travel IT. So travel IT affects all programs because of the non-interface. However, as I indicated, we are working on that. As it is, the team is having a meeting with travel ITs to sort that one out. So in that quarter report, we'll see a better expenditure. And then the slide 19. We are reporting on the cumulative infrastructure spending. The third quarter spending on infrastructure was above our projections, 827.7%. This category was above the 75% benchmark. Then the over expenditure relates to the reclassification of electrification projects that we moved from goods and services to the correct classification that I spoke about earlier. And also the year-to-date under expenditure of 39% is mainly due to the delay of the PMU, which has since been appointed. And as I keep on indicating that in quarter 4, we have corrected most of the issues. Slide 20 is the continuation of the cumulative infrastructure spending. We are reporting then on the refurbishment and rehabilitation, which is our capital assets, which was indicating an under expenditure of 17% against the third quarter projections, and 7% against the budget allocation. Also, this was primarily due to the Department of Public Works not submitting our invoices in time, which then affects payment for refurbishment and rehabilitation. Our new infrastructure assets, it's also a capital expenditure, shows an overspending of 310% against the third quarter projections and 21% against the budget allocation. The over expenditure they resulted from the reallocation of electrification projects when we were allocating from goods and services to capital assets, which is in line with our classification for reporting in the financials. Our infrastructure losses, the third quarter projections reflects a minor under spending with a expenditure of 97% of the projections, and also 93% of the annual budget, mainly due to our invoices from Public Works, which were delayed or which we've since received. I think the last slide, the last two slides, which is slide 21, the department spent 99% of the budget, of the accumulated budget against the third quarter projections, with the spending of 75% on the annual budget. As follows: an amount of 2 million was allocated under goods and services in program 1 to support OSS, which I spoke about earlier. the expenditure was planned for the third quarter to accommodate the MEC's OSS DDM events. 92% allocation was spent during the third quarter, and the remainder will be spent in the fourth quarter. The remuneration of Izinduna was 100% against the third quarter projections and 75% against the annual budget allocation, which is 75%, which was okay with that, but we are also projecting 100%. I spoke about the conditional grant of EPWP that a department received of 3.4 million as at 30 December. The department had spent 100% for both the third quarter projection as well as the total budget for EPWP, and also for year end.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings to yourself and also to the honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, acting HOD and colleagues. Chair, I'm just going to give a very brief account on the performance of the department in the third quarter as guided. Starting with slide number 3, that gives an overall picture of how we did in terms of the attainment of the targets that we had set out in the APP. Overall, in the APP, we have 105 performance indicators and targets. And in the first quarter, we had 71, which were due for reporting in the first quarter, and we managed to achieve 67. As already indicated, that left us with 4 unachieved targets, putting the department at 94% achievement of the targets as set out in the APP. Now going straight to slide number 8, which gives an account on the targets that were not achieved. Chairperson, you'd notice that under the one or measuring percentage of invoices that should be paid within 30 days, we recorded that we achieved 99.86%. And in raw figures, 2,900 of the 2,904 the invoices were paid. I think I need to explain here, Chairperson, the anomalies that when we report for a quarter, we are always a month behind, because by the time we finalize the performance information report, reporting from our side, we have not received the certification data from provincial treasury that says, this is how well or how bad the department did. But we have since agreed. So this performance accounts for performance as well, includes performance for September, which we all know that it falls under the second board. But moving forward, we have since agreed that we will try to get to finalize it by the end of the quarter, so that when we submit a quarterly report, it talks to the 3 months of that particular quarter that we intend fixing in the new financial year. I'm explaining it because you'd see that under finance, we report that for the quarter 3, we're able to overcome the problem of not being able to pay suppliers within 30 days. But when it comes to performance information, there seems to be that anomaly. But in the new financial year, we have since come to a resolution of how we are going to handle it. The next indicator that we struggled with attaining fully was the percentage of internal disciplinary cases that should be finalized within the stipulated 90-day period. There were 4 cases that were recorded under the labor relations, which we couldn't finalize within the 90 days. They are still ongoing. And we found we picked up that delays were mainly due to representatives asking for more time or for postponement of the sitting of the hearings that we have been scheduled. But there's a corrective action. We have since resolved that the chairpersons of the disciplinary hearings should not be so liberal in terms of allowing for postponements and extensions in terms of the sitting of the hearings. The next indicator is required of us by the MTDP is number of professionalization framework plan that had to be implemented. Would know that government is implementing the professionalization framework across. We struggled a bit with that because consultations needed to be exhausted across various stakeholders so that we agree on the implementation plan for executing the professionalization framework. And consultations are now scheduled to take place during Q4. So we are hoping to catch up on this one by the time we report in the annual report. The last indicator where we could not achieve as intended is percentage compliance with legislation. Of the pieces of legislation that were sampled for verifying if the department is in full compliance, because legal services does not look at all pieces of legislations, but they do select in terms of in a order in terms of which ones they're going to be focusing on. The one that shot us down against the issue of compliance with the 30-day period that affected our performance or on this indicator. If we couldn't fully comply with that Treasury regulation of paying invoices within 30 days, it automatically affected our performance on this indicator. Chairperson, I think those are the 4 that I needed to account on. And that brings me to the end of the report.
Thank you so much for those presentations. Members, I think we'll take questions on the non-financial report first, because that is a shorter report. And then thereafter, we will get a response and then move on to the to the financial report. So let me take some hands for questions on the non-financial report that was just presented now. Are there any questions? None. All right. So I have a few with regards to the 30-day invoices. If you could just tell us how many days is the department currently taking? If it's not 30 days, you're not able to do the 30 days, how many days are you taking to pay your creditors? And I do recall that in the last quarter, it was the same problem that you had. So there's been no improvement from the previous quarter to now. If you could explain that, what is the plan? Are we going to see the same situation in the next quarter? In the next, financial year? Or is that going to improve? And then the issue of the labor relations, you're not able to hear these disciplinary cases within 90 days. It's quite concerning because when we move around to various municipalities, one of the things we as COGTA emphasized is that disciplinary matters need to be dealt with as soon as possible, because people leave, they, move to other departments, they move to, can probably move out of the province, out of the country, and it becomes difficult to deal with matters. So if COGTA is not setting the example of dealing with disciplinary matters timeously, 3 months is a long time. 3 months is quite a long time. And these matters should have been dealt with. So we want to emphasize as a committee that you pay careful attention to this and put in all of your effort to ensure that disciplinary matters are dealt with timeously, and perhaps give us some feedback as to what were the postponement reasons and how many of those cases were actually postponed. So we have an idea of whether these were actually legitimate postponements or not. And then the professionalization framework plans. I do remember when COGTA appeared before SCOPA, that this is something that we emphasized was very important. So perhaps just to help us understand, why were these consultations not done timeously in order for you to be able to achieve this target? And then legal service compliance, you've mentioned that it was just the 30-day issue. Was that just one issue or one piece of legislation that brought you down? Or were there a number of different aspects that shut you down in terms of meeting this target? Thanks, you could respond.
And thank you, Chair. Can I take the first one for the 30 days? As Mrs. Mshengu indicated, that the third quarter performance report includes even September, which is the second quarter. So up to the second quarter, we were non-compliant. However, from October up until now, as we sit here, we are compliant with the 30 days. Consequence management was instituted, and also we revised our SOP for the payment of the 30 days. So since October, we are compliant and we are paying our debtors within the stipulated time of 30 days. However, that was for quarter 2 and quarter 1, which we had challenges with the non-payment. Thank you, Chair.
I leave the labor relations one. Did you to respond as the former acting HOD? But let me deal with this one on legislation. It's not every piece of legislation that the department is implementing that gets evaluated in a court. They do a sample of which sections of legislation they are going to investigate for compliance. And out of what they did in the third quarter, I think even in the previous quarter, we found wanting in terms of this treasury regulation of paid invoices. Thanks.
Just to follow up, are you able to tell us what other pieces of legislation that were looked at in this quarter?
We will have to find out and maybe prepare a report check for you.
So going forward, when you do not meet those targets, we require a little bit more detail, so we have an understanding, and we don't have to come and engage and then get information on another meeting and so on. So usually those are the ones that are important to us that you've not met, so we have a better understanding of those.
Thank you. Maybe just to also emphasize on the issue of the 30-day payment, Chair and members of the Portfolio Committee, the MEC took it upon himself to ensure that on a monthly basis, there is a report that is submitted on the status of the 30-day payment system. The CFO was also directed to improve on the systems by taking over the responsibility of managing the 30-day payment system. So it's managed in her office instead of delegating it to another person. So with those improvements, we have seen considerable change. Also, with the invoice system and the SOP, a responsibility manager cannot keep an invoice for more than 2 days before processing it. So an invoice is submitted at a central point, then it gets allocated to the responsibility manager, and within a period of 2 days, that responsibility manager has to deal with the matter. And if they are not happy with the invoice or their queries, there is a record of why the invoice cannot be processed. So with that in place, we have really turned the corner in terms of 30-day payment system. I also need to indicate that the MEC implemented consequence management on the directors and individuals that led us to not meet the 30-day payment system previously. So it's one of those matters that are also part of the labor relations issue. And then moving on to labor relations and the 90 days that we are failing to meet. We've also requested a detailed report from the Chief Director for HR to give us reasons why we could not meet that 90 days. One of the issues that came up was the issue of December and January being dead months, in the sense that companies would close and maybe representatives of those that are charged would not then be able to avail. And furthermore, the chairpersons are the ones that would say we are not available to meet, and there are those postponements. But as you have indicated, we will be able to provide a detailed report per case with details of why there was that postponement, so that the portfolio committee can reassess the reasons. And if there is need for further intervention and action, we will do that. But we are going to be paying special attention to this request of the portfolio committee. Then on the professionalization framework, the target has since been met, but it was met late. The consultation with MANCO was done, full MANCO by the Office of the Premier. There was a detailed presentation that we've received, and we are now sort of all familiar with what needs to be done in terms of the professionalization within the department. There are two aspects to it: professionalization of public service in the department and then of local government. So we are dealing with the two matters concurrently, but the target that was not met relates to the internal professionalization, which is an OTP competency, but we need to facilitate the sessions where OTP presents and workshops us on the pillars of the framework and what we all need to do. And that has since been done and the target has been met. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that information. Members, we're going to be moving over now to the third quarter financial report. And this is your opportunity to ask the department questions. I've got one hand, Honorable Brautiseb. Other members, Honorable Madlopa. Right. Honorable Kunene. Are there any other members that would like to ask questions? Right. Thank you. We've got 3 members and then I'll just come in. Over to you, Honorable Brautiseb.
Thank you, Chair. There are a number of queries and concerns, but let me just get into some of them so I don't dominate the entire discussion. So the report notes a 387.81% outturn versus the Q3 target, which is largely due to the auctioning of vehicles and unspent municipal grants. So the first question I have is this is obviously a once-off figure, this outturn. So how is that going to affect the baseline for 26-27 once those extraordinary items fall away? Then we've got reimbursement requests of 4.1 million, almost 4.2 million. From Umsunduzi, plus a further 5 million allocation request for recoveries. Where have these amounts been allocated and how do they affect the year-end environments? The in-year environments. Okay. Then I'm also concerned about the underspending versus the 75% benchmark. The spending is 68% at the moment, but the benchmark is 75%. So which deliverables and service outcomes weren't covered as a result of that under expenditure? The other issue is vacancies and the service being at risk as a result of vacancies. We were told that the the compensation of our employees reflects underspending because of delayed recruitment and DPSA verification. And there are several posts like district managers, support managers, deputy directors, and a director remain vacant. So what is the plan of the department to urgently fill up those schedules? And how are service levels being maintained while that's being done? Chair, I'll leave it there for now. I don't know if I can get an answer straight away or they're going to take all the answer. Up to you, Chair.
I think we'll do it, seeing as though we only have 3 members asking questions. So let's get a response and then we can do some follow-up on those topics. Then we'll go to the next member.
Thanks, honorable members. The first one that relates to the revenue outcome on auctioning and the recovery of grants. That one, I wouldn't say it's a once-off revenue collection. We do the auctioning almost every year or after a year. It's just that now it's done through the Department of Transport. In terms of the grant recoveries, we still have a number of outstanding recoveries that we are still working with the municipalities. So in terms of our projections for revenue collection next financial year, we did take into consideration those outstanding recoveries that we are making with the municipalities in such a way that on others we even made some payment plans that are overlapping in the coming financial years that will have the impact in our revenue collection baseline. The under expenditure is in the third quarter. The main contributors there, I would say, it's mainly the delays in those infrastructure projects, the SCM processes for the panels of the electrification project and some of the CSs, because we have number of the appeals that were pending. That have since been resolved, that contributed to the delays in the appointment of panels for the electrification project and some of the civil works. And also the issue that the acting CFO mentioned, the interfacing of V5 and V6 with travel IT. It's another main contributor to the under expenditure. The savings have been rendered, but the expenditure has not yet interfaced in our books as COGTA. Today, we had the team is having an engagement, a live session with travel IT, working on those issues and making sure that that expenditure is properly recorded in our books. So we are hoping that by the end of this month, that issue would have been resolved. Also, the issue of infrastructure, the panels are already in place. The service providers have been appointed. We are hoping to see the influx of invoices in this coming quarter.
Just to follow up to that, the tour vest. I do recall, I think it was in the first quarter,
Yes.
that was an issue. What has taken so long to resolve the issue?
They did manage to resolve from February last financial year, because it started then up to June. I'm not sure what happened in their system, because they keep on sending the files for the missing allocations. We, as COGTA, when working together with our best school, we do whatever that they're instructing us to do, but their IT side, they're failing to I don't know, migrating to V6. Hence, we requested let's just have a working session to see where exactly the problem is today in making sure that from July invoices up to date are also interfaced correctly.
We look after that.
Sorry. So, one of the other issues is under buildings and other fixed structures. And, you expect massive underspending, 20.62% as opposed to 17.2%. I think what we'd like to find assurance in is an undertaking from the department. You're talking about SCM processes, later invoices, and that sort of thing. It can persist over a period of time. So it's a process issue. So can you give us some sort of assurance that by the end of the next quarter this will be sorted out and cease to be a problem. Because it cannot just continue on and on and on, because inevitably we're not spending the money we allocated. And one, you could lose it. Okay, and then cry next year when sorry, not next year, soon. When you get less of an allocation. You know, it's got to be fixed. So if we can just get some level of assurance as to how this is going to get fixed. Because, you know, it's not like you can't buy bricks and cement or something. It's just, it's a process issue.
Thank you. Can I respond on that? We can assure you that in terms of our construction projects, we are back on track in terms of all the electrification projects that take the bulk of our money, which is mainly for the substations and electrifications in Abadolusi, in Ulundi and Gandla. Those appointments have now been done. And the site establishment is underway. So we are on track in terms of spending our electrification budget. The challenge that we had was also on the panel for civil works. That panel has gone to Treasury for advertising. We've concluded on the panel itself. But once we conclude, you have to advertise. And at times, there is what one can call malicious reviews that take place, and we end up not concluding the appointments on time because people challenge the appointments, and then at times it has to go through the tribunal and they lose the case. The same happened with electrification. It took long because of those challenges that we had, and the tribunal ended up making a ruling. And we then proceeded with the appointments. So that's why I'm saying we are now on track in terms of the electrification appointments. We had to reallocate some of the funding when we realized that we are going to be facing delays. So those reallocations were done. We had new money of about 16 odd million that we received for the CSCs. For the storm damaged CSCs. It was a special allocation from Treasury. Fortunately, we then managed to appoint for all those, and we should be again on track in terms of implementation as contractors are all on site for the renovation of those storm damaged CSCs or Inkantolo Zamakos. Work is underway, and we are confident that we'll be able to spend it. There was a question on vacancies and the risk that was not responded to, and also the fact that we underspend in terms of compensation of employees. Members, I need to indicate the process of filling of posts this year was delayed by the DPSA process of re-evaluating all the posts in all departments across the country. So all departments were required to review their job descriptions for each post, reload it into the system for job evaluation, and then wait upon PSA to approve the post. Once it's approved, then we start the process of going through Office of the Premier and Treasury for the filling of the post. So that delayed us as it was a new system that has never happened before. So we then had to await upon that process. We then managed to get approval for 29 posts that are currently under advert, which we had anticipated to fill as early as the beginning of the year. That includes post of the CFO, it includes the post of the chief directors for infrastructure, for traditional affairs. Those are currently underway, and I think the advert closed about 2 or so weeks ago. So we'll be filling those posts hopefully by the end of the current financial year. We also received approval of about 22 CTW posts that are also underway in terms of filling, and those were initially projected to have filled by now, but due to this process of DPSA, we then faced those delays. So we are on track. Again, 3 new posts have also been approved by the Office of the Premier,
the Chief Director for Disaster Management after the loss of our Chief Director, Mr. Ngema. Then we also have 2 DDs for security and labor relations. So we are on track in terms of the filling of costs for the current year.
Thank you. I'm going to take Honorable Madlopa. I think it was Honorable Kunene, or was it you? Honorable Madlopa.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. Greetings to the Deputy Chair of Committees and all the colleagues. And the leader of the delegation, Ms. Uchi, and your entourage, ma'am. No, thank you very much for the presentation. My question is in regard to the monies that has been surrendered by the department. There is like the one that was surrendered to the Treasury, 3 point something that ended up going to the Department of Health, and indicating that if Department of Health get money, they will pay back. My question is, if they don't get it, what will happen? And also, we all know that the Department of Health is having a challenge, that we are requesting all other departments to assist, because without this department, we all shall die. I'm saying because I've been sick. You know, if there was no doctors and so on, I would have not been back to work. If you don't get that money, what will happen if they don't have? Secondly, it's about the surrendering or suspension of 20 million from goods and services consultant to the Department of Public Works for the refurbishment and rehabilitation of Yulun, the old legislature building. My question around, first I will request that the department elaborate on this particular matter of the suspension of 20 million. I'm saying that, Honorable Chair, because we were told that it's a disaster. I'm hearing now that there is monies for disaster that they have received, but now they have moved surrender that 20 million instead of using what is in the disaster budget. I'm having a concern on that, because seemingly as a committee, we approve a budget, but when the budget we have approved and we report to our constituencies that this is what the department has been given, you find that there are these changes. Can we be educated? If there are any changes in the budget that we have approved to include something that was not part of the budget, not that you just swap to this program, but there was no budget for that particular item, but you just take monies and then you do it as you wish as a department. Are you not supposed to come back to us if there are changes, so that we know and we amend it in our minds, that now the budget that we approved is not like that because of that challenge, the department has changed it. The other one is in regard to the budget, the main budget for Q3, that the presenter indicated that it was 1.931 million, and all of a sudden is now 1.932 million, which is an increase of 1.186 million. What one wants to check where did that money came from to add on the original 1931 million? Where and what was it for? Why there was that increase? If we can understand, and what was it for? What was it going to be used? That increase that was added, if we can understand that one. And then also, Chair, on the issue of the environment, can the department share with us or assured us that all the environments that they are doing is in line with the PFMA? It does not exceed the guideline from that legislation. Maybe at the moment, let me stop. The last one is the monies that has been withdrawn from different municipalities. Others are for a long time. Sometimes 2015, 16, if from different municipalities by the department. Can you share with us as a department, where was that money sitting? Because our understanding that the money you spend in every financial year, the one that you are not spending, there is a rollover that is being approved. And that money that has been withdrawn from different municipalities, where is it at the moment and what is going to be used for? Thank you.
Thanks, Honorable Madlopa. You raised some very important points there. Just to recap, and because we are running out of time, I'd prefer that you give us sharp, precise answers. So just to recap, you raised the issue of the 1.186 million increase in the budget. Perhaps you could advise where that came from, and what it's going to be used for. 20 million rand from goods and services for the old legislature building refurbishment. If you could explain why the disaster management fund was not used for that and how this is going to be offset. Thirdly, she raised the issue of the environments and whether they are in line with the PFMA. And then finally, you raised the issue of those monies recovered from the various municipalities. I'm actually also interested in that. Why were these monies lying in those municipalities for such a long time? Because some of them, I think, are as old as 2014. So if you give us an indication and also explain, does this money come directly to COGTA? Does it go to Treasury and then come to you? How does that work? And I think there was another point that I noted here. There was a spend of a 1.5 million rand without an indication of what it was for. If you could quickly look at your report. I don't have that one in front of me. But if you could account for that as well. And then we'll close off with Honorable Kunene after you respond. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Okay. I'll just take the first one, the 1.1 million increase. When the acting CFO was doing the presentation, there were a number of amounts that she presented there, where she indicated that there was a 20 million surrendered funds. There was also 16 million received by the department for those TACs. And also there was 3.4 million that we surrendered to the Department of Health. And then on top of that, there was a reallocation of the revenue that we requested from Provincial Treasury, which then offset some of those balances to give us that 1.18 million, where we received back the 3.32 million, as well as the 5 million that we recovered. Then there was some sort of subtracting and additions amongst all those figures during the formalization of the adjustment estimate, which then gave us the ultimate outcome of the increase of 1.18 million. So in terms of the amounts that we recovered from the municipalities, where they were reallocated within the department, we had accruals or other payables that were not catered for in the current baseline that we
needed to make sure that they are offset by some sort of additional funding. We also had a case whereby we had to pay an employee approximately 6 million due to the court ruling of that unfair when that official was supposed to get a post of the DD, water and sanitation, and then we had to make that back pay, which was never part of our baseline. Those are the things that we indicated to Provincial Treasury, that now there's a court ruling in place, we need to pay this employee a back pay of approximately 6 million, including the, because we had to appoint the official again based on that court ruling. We were also running short in terms of the emergency relief stock in terms of disaster. We did indicate that some of the recovered revenue will have to go towards the emergency relief stock for disaster. So that's how that 5 million as well as the 3.4 million recovered was allocated within the department. In terms of the environments, sorry, Chair, to answer that one, yes, they are in line with the PFMA. The ones that we did during the adjustment estimate were officially approved by the Provincial Treasury, and most of them were under the accounting officer's delegation. So we are also tracking now, because we are approaching the year end, in making sure that we do monitor the 8% rule amongst all the department post adjustments, in making sure that there's nothing that we contradict. It's contradicting the PFMA in terms of the environment sections.
Okay. Thank.
All right, let me just come in there because we are running out of time as well. So when it comes to the 6 million rand you incurred in legal costs, that is quite serious. 6 million rand of taxpayers' money that should have been used on residents in this province. Please, can we have a full report on that? That is the kind of information the portfolio committee needs. And I really think that should have been added to the report, because it's a lot of money. 6 million rand is a lot of money. So we need to understand, in addition to this 6 million rand that you paid, what are the other legal costs that this department has incurred? If you could give us a breakdown so that we as a portfolio committee understand, take a look at this and understand what's going wrong, because we have to try by all means to reduce any form of legal costs that are incurred, because we want that money to be spent on the residents of KZN. So please give us that. You did mention that you recovered these monies from the municipalities, but you didn't mention whether it goes to Treasury or it comes directly to you, and also why it's taken such a long time to get these monies from those municipalities. If you could respond to that.
To on what you're saying, also we check, we approve budget as the legislature. As we are here, we represent legislators and committee. When there are changes in the budget, do you come back to us to make us understand that there are now changes? Because you make a huge changes, like taking 20 million that was budget for goods and services, and you allocate to something which has got its own budget, a disaster fund, and we are not aware. We go out, that's why they say politicians are lying. You can't listen to politicians, because you go and say goods and services 20 million. All of a sudden they are asking, where is that amount that you said it's there? It's somewhere else now. So if you can share with us whether this department have complied, if there are changes in regard to what we approved as a legislature or as a committee, that you come back to us. We want to be sure of that one, if we can assure.
All right, if you could respond to that question.
Okay, I will respond, Chairperson, on the revenue. How it works, it first gets surrendered to the revenue fund, goes straight to Provincial Treasury, and then we do a motivation requesting the reallocation. So as a department, we wrote to Provincial Treasury after exceeding what we projected to collect. because their rule is they cannot reallocate or approve any request if your collection is still below what you projected. So upon realizing that we were excelling in terms of revenue collection, we then wrote and requested the reallocation of those funds to the department.
Okay, but I'm not sure if your question has been answered. That 20 million rand that was taken from goods and services for the refurbishment of the old legislature building. Why was disaster funds not used for that? Because we're concerned 20 million is a lot of money from your goods and services. If you could respond, please.
Thank you, Chair. There were two questions. One was the issue of 3.5 to Department of Health, then the 20 million for public works. In terms of the funds to Department of Health, all departments were directed to allocate money to the Department of Health to serve the department. And this department was requested to identify any potential money that they could reallocate or savings. I really can't call it savings at this stage because
I'm going to stop you there because of time. I need you to answer the questions directly. The question from the honorable member was, if you do not get this money back from health, what is the plan?
It's not coming back. It was never intended to come back. It was a commitment. All departments were asked to do that slicing of their baseline. So that money is not coming back. It's permanently gone. So it was a reduction in our budget allocation. So that's why we also intensified our efforts to recover the grants from municipalities so that we are able to plug in those gaps after removing the 3.5. On the 20 million suspended to public works, the damage to the Ulundi precinct were disaster related, and the cost was about 100 million odd. The MEC then directed that as the department responsible for disaster management, we also need to have our own contribution. And furthermore, the department was also occupying that building, and Public Works had requested that all departments that are occupying, they should also contribute towards the 100 million required for the renovations. So that's how, as COGTA, we ended up doing that suspension of the 20 million. The 100 million has still not been secured in full. It's only COGTA, KZN, and COGTA National that have contributed about 20 million each. So at the moment, we've got 40 million of the 100 million required for the renovations of the precinct.
Do you have I still got Honorable Kunene. I'm going to indulge you. Seeing as though it's on the same issue.
It's a follow-up, Chair. We understand the reason behind, but the law prescribes that if there's environment, the legislature must approve. That's where the question is. Thank you.
3 of the PFMA is that determines that legislature approval is required for any environments of savings that department wish to undertake, which result in a decrease in funds specifically and exclusively allocated for a particular purpose, goods and services.
Right, so we see here that there needed to be approval for this environment. Was the approval sought for this environment?
Yes, it was because those environments were formalized during the adjustment estimates, which allows our department to make those changes and then get the approval from the legislature as well as provincial treasury. So those ones, we even have the approval or the allocation letter from provincial treasury indicating that there is an approval in place that was granted for the department to make this surrender of funds.
Don't first present to us, Chair, as a committee and then go to the legislature, because we can't just find it in the legislature and then before it is presented before us. Because when you present your budget before it is approved there, it comes to us. We must have a first-hand information on what is changing in the department that we are oversighting.
All right, as we are sitting here, just to bring that issue to a close, as we are sitting here, I cannot tell whether it is mandatory to come through the committee before the legislature. We'll have to, we have a Form MEC here that is telling us that it is, but I don't know if you want to respond to it. According to the members, it's supposed to go through the committee before it goes to the legislature. All right, I'll give you a chance to respond. Members, we're running out of time. Let's get Honorable Kunene's question and then you can respond to both the questions. Honorable Kunene, your question?
Well, I think my questions have been covered by my honorable colleagues. Really have no much questions left. I just wanted to check on the delays in the appointment of the PMUs, which was talked about, whether that has any impact in the programs or projects that the department implements. And then the PWP expenditure and this submission of timesheets. What was happening there? If one could just get a clarity in terms of, because the EPWP expenditure is a very important expenditure to actually utilize. And when there are late submission of timesheets as reported, it's a matter for serious concern. I think I could leave it at those two for now. Thank you.
Please to respond.
Thank you, Chair. I think for the PMUs, we had to reallocate the funds that were initially meant for the electrification projects. So we had to adjust the cash flows only so that the projects are implemented over a 2-year or 3-year period, when initially we thought we would start them by early this year. We now are only starting them now in the 3rd quarter. So we adjusted the cash flows, but the projects are still going to take place, but over a number of years. So the impact is more on the cash flows, but not on stopping the project completely. Then on EPWP, it is a requirement that we monitor the attendance of EPWP workers across the province. Some are supposed to work 12 days a week, others are supposed to work 20 days a week, and they submit timesheets at the end of each month for them to be able to be paid according to the stipulated stipend for EPWP. These participants are scattered across the province, about 50 per municipality. So we then consolidate those timesheets and ensure that we are paying people for work that is done, for where attendance is clarified. That also is a requirement in terms of aging. It's the participants, at times one may fall sick and they fail to submit the timesheets on time. Then it delays us in terms of capturing and consolidating for the province. So it's the normal issues, like for instance, someone can be sick or I think it's mainly around the sicknesses that may happen during the course of the month.
All right, thank you, honorable members. With regards to this environment issue, in practice for good governance, it would be good to bring it before the committee, although you can do so administratively. I think maybe give us a report at the next meeting on the environments and the reasons and the percentage that you have used or moved rather, so that we can see whether it is within the percentage that is allowed. Members can have a better understanding of where we are in terms of that. It's a learning curve for us, but I'm glad that members have interrogated the report and you are asking the questions that need to be asked. One of the other concerns I had was with regards to the slow spending or the reduced spending of S&Ts. Because if your S&T spending has been reduced, it means that there's not much travel across the province. And we as a portfolio committee have emphasized on a number of occasions that we need you to provide support and monitoring to municipalities. So if you could explain to us why that S&T has dropped and whether it's affecting your support and monitoring of municipalities. Thanks.
Thank you. There are two reasons. Firstly, we've got a limit from Treasury as part of the cost-cutting measures. So we're limited to 1,750 per individual. And we can only exceed that through a submission to the accounting officer. 1,750, it's very little, and it affects especially project managers that have capital projects on the ground. It's not adequate. But Treasury gave that blanket figure. Every individual says that amount. So it's a matter that maybe the portfolio committee may also need to assist us review. But for now, what we've done for critical units, the accounting officer has given them a latitude of about 3,000 for them to be able to be on the ground. But furthermore, there was also the need to contain the kilometers for us as a department so that we have enough money to cover the increasing demands that we have for service delivery. So it was also trying to do cost containment so that we are able to cover the shortfalls in the budget that we have due to the increased demands in service delivery projects. But it is a concern that 1,750 is too little for project managers that need to be on the ground.
Thank you so much to the department for these answers to the honorable members' questions. I think we've come to the end with regards to these third quarter reports. We now are going into business related to the committee. If the department could please excuse us, we'd appreciate that. Thank you. Members, the next subject or item on our agenda rather is our if they're still here once our meeting is concluded. All right, members. Honorable members, we are on item 7, and that is the focused intervention study topic. Now, according to our annual oversight plan, we are supposed to have members. According to our annual oversight plan, we're supposed to have 2 topics of study. So the first one that we've had is water across the province, the supply, the study of the water challenges and so on, which we've been doing in the last year. Now, our financial year is coming to a close very soon. And so we had not adopted a second topic, which we needed to do. So I did ask honorable members to make submissions on our WhatsApp group with regards to ideas that you have for a focused intervention study. And we only received 1 submission, which was from Honorable Basiela. And the topic that she submitted was youth unemployment. So after careful consideration and deliberation with the support staff that actually guide our work, we realized that youth unemployment would be more suited to a tier, right? We needed to keep a topic that falls within our program. So the topic that I want to propose to members today is the study of disaster management and where we are, seeing as though it is a major topic in our province right now, and it's going to be ongoing as well as it is part of our program. So I made a proposal. I just want to hear from members, and let's hear from Honorable Kunene, I see quite a few hands. Honorable Kunene.
I think Chairperson Noan just raises one's hand to support the proposal.
Okay, because that's what I'm looking at. If there are any objections, can we have a seconder to the proposal?
No, we support, Chair, your proposal because the issue of disaster, we have to understand how our province is doing. But also, we sometimes, Chair, one will propose that, as the Chair has proposed this, because we have got the researchers in the committee, just to assist us to research, so that we don't just throw in, unscientific thinking of ours. Because if we do that, Chair, we can add. Because if we do that, I will raise things and it's not taken into consideration and people will be angry. But it's not our responsibility, actually. It's the researchers present, and then we can add when we discuss that. So we will request that, Chair, but we support you. I think we have identified a critical area that we need to really go to.
No, I hear you, Honorable Madlopa, and thank you for seconding the proposal. Ideally, that would be a good idea to have that presentation, but really time is not on our side in terms of the slots we have. And I do apologize also for calling you after hours last night. It's not a good thing to call members at 7:00 when you know that honorable members are traveling and you have very limited time with your families. So I do appreciate those of you that were able to join the joint, but I do take what you are saying into consideration. I think that in future, what we do is just have a write-up and circulate that write-up amongst the members so we can decide. Now your comments are noted. Are there any other members? Let me just take their hands quickly. Honorable Brauterset, Honorable Twala, and right, Honorable Brauterset, Honorable Twala, Honorable Ngadi on the same topic. Let's have those three.
Yeah, Chair, I fully support. I have a passion for disaster management. I served on that ad hoc committee in Cape Town. Chair, I just wondered if I could possibly just drop something else in. Because disaster management is such a serious aspect of our life here in KZN, can we as a committee possibly consider investigating a short course with a learning institution, either UNISA, whichever, for this committee to actually enroll ourselves on a short course in disaster management, so that not only will we have, we've got now until 2029, not only will we empower ourselves, but we'll actually be able to, if we engage with disaster management authorities, we can engage with authority. It's actually having trained in the issue. And I know that there is, allocations for this sort of thing. And I just wanted to really, really carry out. I'd like to recommend it. I think that we could actually do something exciting there. Actually be qualified in the matter. It doesn't have to be a 3-year short course, it could be a 6-month, or just investigate what's out there. Okay, it's just an idea, but I'll support the main proposal.
Let's hear from Honorable Twala.
Thanks, Chair. I'm not the best person on it. I'm always upset. But now that I'm also here trying, I think it's good that I also voice out. Whilst I support the asset intervention, I was, I'm partially not convinced because, or maybe should I coin it like this? I think the previous term, Honorable Fraser will remind us, once engage on something that has to do with the disaster management. I was going to say maybe if we can extract whatever information or the outcome of such activity, so that we do not repeat what we did last year. I don't know how to coin it. Because we'll end up doing the same thing that was done by the committee last year. Maybe if there are areas where this committee could not satisfy or reach on this focus intervention in terms of disaster management, but also very much linked the point of program to local governments. I don't know if maybe we can also couple this with the support of local government or local governments. Because the state of our municipalities, without proper systems and support of local governments, disaster management is the program itself. Will never sit there. Will never yield any positive results without well-oiled and structured local governments sphere. I do support, but I don't want us to do a repetition of what this committee has done. Maybe if we can check what the activities that we engaged on as a committee, so that we don't do the same thing that we did previously. Thank you.
All right. Let's hear Honorable Ngadi first.
No, no, thanks, Honorable Chair. Everything's to yourself. Honorable members in the House. Chair, you have correctly read my mind. If I saw what you have written on the group, that was going to be my first approach to deal with the issue of disaster management. In addition for what has been raised by Honorable Prochusel with regard to studies, and I would like to probably propose that I think it will be a good idea as the province of KwaZulu-Natal to get a study tour with another maybe nearby countries that are doing well on the issue of managing disaster, because disaster is a matter that is confronting most of the countries around, like KZN, Mozambique, those other countries that are close by. I think maybe if our researchers can identify the nearby country that is doing well on the issue of disaster management, so that we'll follow the suit, because really we are falling short on the issue of disaster management as the province, in particular the country of South Africa. I think it will be another addition over and above what has been raised, but we can always gradually look at it. What are the good that you can add on to that? I think it will assist us.
Let's hear Honorable Madlopa first, and then a second. Then I want to tie this up.
Yes,
We've got another matter to do.
No, thank you very much. I think we have agreed on your proposal, Chair. But I think my colleague, Honorable Twala, is saying we must get a report on what we have done so that we cannot repeat. But I think the issue of disaster is important because we have visited some of the disaster areas, the offices. They showed us, but we're not satisfied to say that all the municipalities, for us to go to the municipalities, we must first have an information where they meet, because they work with Sanral and so on. That's what they told us when we were visiting there. So if we go back and then we know, because we haven't reached other centers of disasters. So it will be critically important, Chair, that we see them And the second one, I think the one for the municipalities. Also, the problem also is that we can't go directly as a portfolio committee to the municipalities. We will need a department. I think this is the second one that we have to do as raised by Honorable Twan. But disaster is key that we must start now. We can see that 20 million has just disappeared. We are told that there was a disaster. And we have not even go and see that damage. That is, we have to go and see the damage because now the money has been diverted, and as a committee, we are told it's disaster, but we haven't seen that disaster. So it's something that we have to see.
All right, thank you, honorable members. Just to quickly respond and tie this up, because I hadn't anticipated to have a discussion on it. Honorable Twala raises a very important point. I didn't. Did I miss? Yeah, I think I do recall that there was some request for a course. Our researcher is with us. She can look into it and perhaps give us some feedback at some stage. You're able to. All right. Let's hold on a bit. Let's hold on. All right. I'll come back to you. I just want to tie this up. Honorable Twala, you've mentioned that there are other issues like local governance that is of concern. What I want to respond by saying is that we are going to be choosing, when we develop the new annual oversight plan, we'll have opportunity to choose new topics. So we'll park that and we'll look at it at that stage, right? The second one issue was raised that we need to go on some oversight in terms of disaster management. I don't know anything about any overseas trip and whether we have the budget for that. So I can't really say much in that regard. But the topic is for us to perform oversight and learn more within the province now. If the time comes, or if there is some opportunity to do so, I am not against it. But I just want us to be clear that this is the topic, like how we've been overseeing water. We're going to do that in terms of disaster management. And then the issue of training, getting some sort of certificate, we can explore that for now. And then when we get some feedback, we can take a resolution in the committee as to whether we're going to actually do a course or not. But we are not at that stage yet. We'll park that for now. Honorable Madlopa, you raised the issue of oversight in terms of how finances are spent. One of my concerns is that we've not had enough money. The department has not had money for an early warning system. We've spoken at length about it. Even the DMC in PMB. There's so much that needs to be done. And so we as a committee need to watch the money and see where there can be some savings that can be put towards disaster management, because ultimately it's costing this province a lot of money.
Okay, Chair, quick one. I didn't mention the overseas. I said the neighboring that are doing well in terms of managing the disaster. And Honorable Brochusel also added over and above, said Cape Town, they're doing well. We can might as well go and observe as to what they're doing. I didn't mention any oversight. But
my apologies.
Number two, Sado, I'm of the view that when we're doing this analysis within our province, it's better to also manage the value for now money, because the department is injecting monies in the municipalities, whereas the municipalities are not executing what is supposed to be. There is no value for money. 20 million for the project, and the project versus 20 million does not add up. I think those things, it needs a proper analysis in terms of making sure that what we put in the municipalities to deal with issues of disaster gets done accordingly. That's what I wanted to add on to that. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarity, Honorable. I think that we have adopted this. Sorry, but Honorable, but I have to say, Honorable Fraser, you are the last person on this now, because we need to bring this to a close. How many disasters and so on. Now, thank you for that, Honorable Fraser. You raised some important points, and those are noted. We will get research done in terms of where we need to go and do oversight. Members, I want to move on to the next item, which is item number 8, and that is feedback from the National COGTA oversight. So you would recall that we had National COGTA down, and honorable members had to undertake the school functionality oversight. So you were unable to attend the National COGTA oversight visit that was week-long here in KZN. Now, I want to apologize to members. There was some confusion as to whether you were supposed to be present at the event. And, you know, there was just a whole lot of confusion. We received some clarity from the staff and from the Speaker's office. There were some apologies because there was some confusion as to who was going to attend and who was not going to attend. I was told that I needed to attend there. Initially, I was deployed to school functionality oversight, but then I was told that I needed to be there. And so I was there. Every single day, we started at 8, we finished at 8 p.m. During the course of the week, I think it was the second day, the chair, Dr. Mkis, thought that the oversight, the portfolio committee would be there. And then we sent an apology because we realized that the portfolio committee would not be able to come and stay in Pietermaritzburg because you were deployed elsewhere. So there was a little bit of a hiccup in terms of this oversight, but nonetheless, some chairs did attend. Some of you watched it virtually, but I was there every single day. And what I want to say is from this 1 week of engagement, we had 18 municipalities that came before National COGTA Committee. And I was a little bit saddened by the entire week of committee, week of having these municipalities come before COGTA, National COGTA. I'll tell you why. The reason was that we as a portfolio committee have not done anything of that nature. We have not done our oversight the way they were doing their oversight. And I felt as though, you know, we needed to step up in terms of oversight of municipalities, because here, as the chair of COGTA, I was sitting in the municipalities that are here in KZN, I knew nothing about, because those were not raised with me by portfolio members. They were not raised with me by residents, and we had not dealt with matters. One of the matters, I'll give you an example, like the Amajuba district municipality, where they were paying for an extra councillor. Those are serious issues. We had another municipality that had their bank account frozen So very serious issues came out of these various municipalities. And I felt as though, you know, we were just not doing our job in terms of that. Of course, we have limited slots. We don't meet often enough, but we as a portfolio committee have got to find some way of stepping up in terms of our oversight of these municipalities. And I'll say this very emphatically, similar to what I said when we did the Section 132 hearings and we moved around. When we go to municipalities, I do not care who heads that municipality, whether it's a DA, ANC, IFP, whichever political party. We have to be principled. If there is something that is wrong in the municipality, as a portfolio committee, we do not represent our parties here when we're performing oversight. We represent the people of KZN because we have taken the oath of office to represent residents who should have had money spent on them, but monies are being siphoned in other ways, and there's poor governance and all sorts of things. We have to hold the department and municipalities to account. So we did very well when it came to the Section 132 hearings. Every member of the portfolio committee didn't bother whether it was their political party that was heading the municipality or not. Questions were asked. There was consequence management that was requested, and municipalities were held to account. And I want us to keep that same position moving forward when we deal with municipalities, because we're coming up to local government elections. There's a major focus on municipalities. We've heard what the president has said in his State of the Nation address in terms of municipalities. So we as a portfolio committee, there's a large focus on us to see whether we are doing our jobs in terms of oversight. So that is what I want to say in terms of this national COGTA. A lot of issues came out, and the chair of the portfolio committee called on the MEC of Finance and called on the MEC of COGTA to look into these matters, to investigate them and provide a report to them. Now, I don't have that report. Once the National COGTA Portfolio Committee adopts the report, we will get a copy of that report, and then we'll circulate that report to all the honorable members. But the issues that came out of there, once we see them, we need to now start performing our oversight more robustly in terms of these municipalities. Members, if there are any questions with regards to this or comments, I'll take them now, and then we're going to move on to the final item. We've got Honorable Ngadi, Honorable Madlopa. All right, let's go, Honorable.
That's your subject. Otherwise, I was going to get the thanks so much for the I think very critical that municipalities that identified by the national consumption was both municipalities belong under our leadership, and we cannot leave them neglected. We need to, once we receive the report, we need to understand it in this way. If that those matters have not been resolved, what will be one precisely?
Thanks, Honorable Madlopa.
Yes, thanks, Honorable Chair. We appreciate that you represented us as the chairperson. We know that as you have apologized, we understand, but we'll request our officials or our support staff that they must really not do that to disempower members, because it was the first time to hear. I was talking with Fraser, and then she wrote to the chair to say, are we invited? And the chair said no, because I think she got a wrong advice. We ended up, on the 28th, we're doing nothing because the school functionality started on the other day. Even on the opening day, we would have been coming and hear this one. But let us agree to say that it was a mistake that happened, but in future we have to prevent it. Chair, I think the report that we are talking about, we agree with you that we are not doing enough. I'm not sure why, because the key responsibilities of the legislature is the public hearing, its oversight, its lawmaking. But the budget and the time, as the chair is saying, we end up, people look like, oh, the chair is not calling in the meetings. It's not within her. I think I'm talking like that because there is a deputy chair of committees which sit in the strategic meetings to say that this thing is an outcry for committees. Even the time that we are given, we can't. The chair will always say, now the time, because it's the time that we are given. I don't think really we are really doing an oversight, giving enough time to really deal with that. Thanks, Chair. We support that when the report comes, we must look at it and prioritize the municipalities that will be going there. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Madlopa.
Chairperson.